I was like, he's all over it.
There we go. So I'll go back to share and okay. All right. Got people pouring in here. Thank you. Good morning. Hey, Diane, my friend, how are you? Happy Thursday. We've got Kevin, Jessica, Christy's connecting. And we got more people coming in. Give it 1 minute here. And hope everybody's having a fantastic week. Holly, how's your week going? You going good?
Yeah, really great. I can't complain. We have had a lot of sunshine for Pennsylvania in February, so there's nothing to complain about there. How about yourself, Kurt?
It is, you know what? I actually had to close my blind earlier today. How about like I haven't had to close my blind since like I think October. It's
I know.
like
That's wild. It's the
where's that
best feeling.
where's that where's that sun thing at? So all right, guys, we're at I'll be letting people in. So we're at 12:01. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. We have a ton to cover. We have a fun program. Why don't we kick things off? I'm still letting people in. Julie, my friend, you want to give a little hello, a little shout out from our friends at Purdue?
Sure. Hello from Purdue MEP. Thanks to everyone for joining. If you don't know much about the MEP centers, there's one in every state. Purdue is the one for the state of Indiana. I always say that we just help manufacturers become better, stronger, safer, faster, smarter. So whatever you need help with, we have a solution somewhere in our pocket to help with. So that's that. I'll turn it back over to Kurt and Holly, but thanks for everyone for joining.
Well, Julie, thank you so much. What an honor and privilege to be here with the Purdue University MEP. If you have not engaged with your Purdue MEP, we strongly encourage you, we invite you, we welcome you to do so. Connect with Julie, check out their website. If you're coming to us from outside of I was looking at Diane, I was going to say Pennsylvania. If you're coming outside of Indiana, check with your local MEP. So Diane, she's with TAC, by the way. So Julie, our friends from, our friends at the Trade Adjustment Center, right? So let's go here, guys. If we were in person, Holly, we'd be high-fiving, we'd be handshaking, we'd be doing all sorts of
Heck
fun
yeah.
things, right? Handing out
Yep.
business cards. I encourage you, I invite you guys, drop your LinkedIn in the chat box or your website or whatever social media that you guys use. This is a great opportunity to connect with other folks and engage with each other. So encourage you, let's get that chat box on fire today. So drop any information there that you'd like to, website, LinkedIn, so on and so forth. And again, if we were in person, boy, we would be asking all sorts of fun questions. So I encourage you, invite you, welcome you. Don't be on the shy side today. Holly and I are here to have a really fun time. Great program. We brought in a powerhouse. So let's get this party started. Again, I'm still bringing in people. Guys, I want to introduce my dear friend, my respect, my admiration for Holly is off the charts. And so she is just a fierce marketer for manufacturers. Our relationship goes way back. Holly, happy Thursday, AKA happy Friday Eve to you, my friend. How are you today?
I'm so great. Happy Friday Eve to you as well.
Well, hey, I'm gonna since you're so modest, and I talked to your mom, so I'm gonna give a little she'll throw a little plug at you. So, all right, so guys, Holly, a dear friend and just fierce advocate for U.S. manufacturing. She works with a company called Protocol 80, aka we call it P80 for short. And just we've worked on numerous projects, numerous clients over the years. We have two separate companies, and again, just my respect, admiration for Holly, off the charts, just fun, friendly, passionate, and just really a high level digital marketing expert for manufacturers. And that's a great thing is like sometimes a manufacturer might engage with a marketing firm and they're working with maybe restaurants or retail or healthcare. And you at Protocol 80 exclusively focus on manufacturers. And plus, we're going to talk about your mom's favorite book, Holly. Give us a little background on Holly and how did you get into digital marketing for manufacturers?
Yeah, so I went to St. Bonaventure University. I have a degree in professional and creative writing. So when I was still in college, my now business partner, Donnie Kemick, reached out looking for interns to support some of the content writing. And I was lucky enough to be chosen. And I worked under our full time content writers at the time, producing content for manufacturers. And at first, I didn't really understand it. Everything was going over my head. But then over time, producing that content, watching leads come in, watching businesses grow, especially like small local manufacturing companies, seeing what we were doing translate to actual business was just straight up addictive. I was obsessed with it, and I've been obsessed with it and continue to be obsessed with it. So that's how I've spent my entire professional life, is working with manufacturers on their marketing and on helping them grow their business.
Well, I love it. And what was the inspiration about, if you want to just share with folks about your new book? It's super exciting. Just tell us about the book and what was the inspiration for this wonderful book?
Yeah, that's actually super aligned with our topic today, because in working in the agency world, when we talk to potential clients, existing clients about their experiences with digital marketing, especially in the manufacturing space, there's a lot of bamboozling, there's a lot of hoodwinking, there's a lot of jargony terms that don't make a whole lot of sense. And unethical practices. So, what I wanted to do was write a guide to inbound marketing specifically for manufacturers, where they do not have to partner with PAD. They may never need an agency ever. And I am confident that reading this book, you could produce the kind of work that we're producing with clients and the kind of results without ever needing us. I just really wanted for there to be a resource on the market that gave people an actual how-to guide instead of just theory and blowing smoke and that kind of thing. So that was kind of the impetus behind it, just making sure we could get actual valuable resources in the hands of manufacturers who are doing marketing.
Well, I love that. So thank you for sharing that. And I want to welcome a few friends that came in. So Madison, Laura, I see Savannah joined, Amanda. Thank you guys. Happy Thursday, AKA happy Friday Eve to you. If you just joined us, boy, I encourage you, invite you, welcome you, drop your LinkedIn, drop your website. Let us know who you are, where you're coming from. Great opportunity to connect with other folks here. I know Mark dropped his, Mark is with Arrowhead Plastic Engineering. So Mark, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know how busy you guys are. We never take that for granted. So thank you for joining us here. Let's talk a little bit about Protocol 80. So tell us a little bit about the firm, and then we're going to dive into this wonderful topic today, Holly.
Yeah, so we focus, like Kurt mentioned, on doing marketing for manufacturers. We have over 30 manufacturing clients on retainer, and they are incredible. That's what we focus on. And Protocol 80 started in 2002 as a website development company, and then the founders realized, well, sure, we're building these wonderful websites, but nobody is getting to them. Like, we need ways to promote these websites and take the next step. So thus Protocol 80 as a marketing agency was born. So we are ancient in terms of agency years, really ahead of the curve on inbound marketing. And at the heart of inbound marketing, if you're not familiar, it's all about producing valuable content that creates valuable experiences for your customers and prospective customers, to help them out and to essentially just give away as much as you can, in the hopes of attracting people and converting them to being a customer of yours. So that is what we focus on.
Well, I love that. And the great thing is we've had a long time relationship. I go back a ways. I remember when you guys had 3 employees. And so that it's just been a wonderful for myself to watch you guys grow. You're up to 17 strong, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. And we've done all sorts of lives here. We're going to be talking about doing live streaming as a possible content strategy for you as a manufacturer. We do tons of live streams here. We were at on site together at a manufacturer over here on the left. And so, a great way, one of our taglines, our running jokes is like, hey, how do we stop being the best kept secret? I don't know if anybody wants to raise their hand. Has anybody out there claim themselves as the best kept secret? And so the goal is, kind of that tagline, closed mouths don't get fed, right? And so what we want to do is help you guys stop being the best kept secret. So Holly, let's dive right in. Let's get into the meat. Let's talk about today's agenda. What are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, so generally, I would say that there are 4 main options of doing your marketing. And that would be keeping it in house, having a partnership with somebody for coaching or training, having a partnership with somebody for delivery, and a hybrid of all of the above. So, we're going to talk about all of those different options, some of the core considerations that go into that, as well as some warning, red flag type of things with partnerships, as well as where to start. If you're like, I'm not quite sure where I fit, I'm not sure where my starting line is, we'll talk about the best way to audit that. And then also, towards the end, Kurt and I are going to give a little bit of a sneak peek into what those relationships, in our opinion, should look like if you're working with a partner, the types of things that are being accomplished, the ways that we work together. Because sometimes if you've never worked with an agency or worked with a partner, it's unclear what that even means or what that gets you or what that looks like. So we want to aim at demystifying that a little bit as well.
Perfect. All right. Lots of juice, lot of meat on the bone there, right? That we're going to be covering today, Holly. So let's dive in, guys. And so what we're going to be talking about is, and again, we've got a few friends that just joined us here. So Paul, happy Thursday to you. Kevin just joined. I just let in, who else did I just let in? Hey, my buddy Alan is here today. So Alan, happy Thursday, happy Friday Eve. Patricia, I believe you're with another MEP out of state. So thank you for joining us today, guys. So again, if you're just joining us, let us know where you're coming from. Savannah dropped a note in there. Thank you, Savannah. She's got her LinkedIn. Kevin is with Secura, manufacturer of chemical storage buildings and cabinets. So again, guys, great opportunity to connect and engage. Ironically, Holly, we did a webinar about a year ago, and a couple manufacturers came on, and I found out that they actually connected and started networking and started doing business together. So again,
That's
guys,
so cool.
yeah, it's a great opportunity to connect with each other. What we're going to do is we're going to dive into, if you're a solo marketer, if you're the owner of the company and you're like, hey, we've got to stop being the best kept secret. We want to explore some different strategies, but man, we're not looking to break the bank. Holly, let's dive in. Let's share with folks what are some options that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like we talked about earlier, these are kind of the four main choices. And the way that I'm differentiating these here, in house marketing being one or more people from your team operating exclusively internally on all marketing activities. So, that could be digital, print, trade show, radio, whatever type of marketing, you're keeping that all in house. And not working with any external partners. And then we have agency coaching, which would be your in house marketing team is accomplishing all of the activities with support and strategy from an outside partner. So they might be helping you with how to write valuable content in a way that is SEO friendly, helping coach your team on areas that they might not be experts in so that they can make sure that they're getting the most impact out of their actions. Full agency delivery, which would be an outside partner, is strategizing and delivering all aspects of your marketing with support from your team for knowledge transfer. So, of course, if you're working with an outside partner, they're going to need a little bit of help from you just in knowing the ins and outs of your business. So, that would be what we would consider like a full agency delivery. And then a hybrid option. So, your internal team is working with an outside partner for coaching or training and maybe some delivery while also delivering some aspects of the strategy as well. So those are kind of the four areas that people tend to look to when they're like, okay, we have marketing, we either like or don't like what's happening, we want to pursue other options. Generally, these are the four categories that someone would be considering.
Well, perfect. All right, let's take it to the next step. All right, so let's go here, and you've got like little acronyms here for each of these little, and so they might be memorable for everybody. And so let's dive into what you've got going on here.
Yeah. So for in-house marketing, that would be DIY. So you're doing it yourself. You are completely learning, seeking out resources, investing in tools, and just totally going gangbusters on your own marketing. And then for coaching and for coaching, you have doing it with you. So you're partnering with somebody to help you along the way, but you are not completely handing over the keys. That would also fall in the hybrid approach. You would be working together on something and then do it for you. So that would be full agency delivery. And the reason why, Kurt, you love these acronyms so much, I love these acronyms so much, is because I think it gives a clear picture and evokes a kind of response on whether you want support, you don't want support, or just how you feel about your marketing. Do you want to be doing it with someone? Do you want it to be done for you, or do you want to do it by yourself? And that's essentially where these boil down.
Yeah, I llove that. And we're going to dive in a little deeper. We're going to dig into each one. So again, guys, for taking notes at home, let's think about the DIY, that do it yourself. Okay. And boy, it's the way marketing is changing on a daily basis. We're going to dig into that deeper. It gets daunting, right? And that's where it's nice with what Holly's describing with the coaching or in hybrid. Do it with you. Can you get that trusted advisor like the folks here at the Purdue MEP? Again, if you're coming to us from another state, we have a friend here from the Florida MEP. MEPs are just a great, incredible resource for all manufacturers throughout our wonderful country. And so then the last option is like, hey, you know what? We just can't do it on our own. We need to hire a digital marketing firm. But what the goal is, like with Purdue and like these webinars that we put on, these workshops, we call them jam sessions, how we want to educate you so at least you're a much more educated consumer going into those agencies. Let's go. We've got one more slide here, Holly. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, and I really something I'd like to put forth in this session is the idea that these solutions are not fixed and are not permanent. So you might be DIYing right now and you might reach out to someone for support through coaching and want to work with somebody for a set amount of time on something specific and then you want to do it yourself again. Or maybe you have super aggressive growth goals and you want to invest in an agency really doing a lot of that for you and that might not be permanent. So the really important thing as we move forth and talk about all of this is this should evolve. It's extremely agile. It isn't either or, it's how all of these things work together and then talking through some of the considerations that might determine whether you fall into one bucket or another or when it might be time to switch buckets. But there certainly is no one silver bullet. There is no one solution that works for everybody. The best companies are doing some type of assessments and evaluations and reporting to figure out which bucket they need to be in for any given time slot. And they should always be doing those assessments to figure out where further support is or isn't needed, where they can grow their own skills, or if they're just killing it on their own. So I just really want to say there is no one right way. If anyone's telling you you have to work with an agency to be successful, they're lying. If anyone is saying you should never work with an agency because they can't be trusted or they're trying to pull a fast one on you, that also isn't a whole truth. So we're going to kind of untangle all of that today.
We're going to demystify a bunch. So let's dive in. What are some main considerations for folks to consider?
Yep. So these are the ones that I would say are the things that are probably on your mind when you're considering your marketing, your investment, that kind of thing. So capacity, that's how much time and energy you have to dedicate to your marketing activities. Your growth needs, so how aggressively your goals are. Do you need to double revenue in a year? That's a pretty aggressive growth need, right? Essential skill sets. So do the people on your team and the people that you're partnering with have the comprehensive knowledge and understanding that they need to in the core areas that will make you successful? Like Kurt mentioned, something that we love and hate about Google is their constant algorithm changing and updates. Also starting to develop a love-hate relationship with AI for the same reasons. So making sure that you know all of the essential skills and competencies are covered. Essential tools. So again, thanks to Google, we don't get a beautiful manual that tells us exactly what to do as it pertains to digital marketing. So it's really important that we have these, third-party tools that help us interpret things like keyword rank, all of that fun / boring SEO stuff. You want to make sure you're able to invest in and have access to the tools that are necessary to be successful. And then, of course, budget. And like I mentioned before, all of these are subject to change, which can make these considerations a little bit more complicated. I also just have to know, Kurt, do you watch Schitt's Creek?
Well, funny story. I'm familiar with it. My wife and I watch a couple episodes, so I'm familiar with the show. So yes.
Okay. I was hoping I'd have at least, if no one else in the audience is a fan, at least I've got you, Kurt.
That's right. Drop a note in the chat box if you're a fan of the show. Just appease Holly. But Holly, let's go there.
Let's do it. Drop your favorite character, maybe your favorite moment, something in the chat that we can all laugh about. Break this up a little.
Everybody that watches that show just absolutely loves it. So, all right, let's dive in. We're going to break down each bucket, guys. So again, if you're the entrepreneur, you're the owner of the company, president, CEO, and you're just like, you know what, we need to do something. And it's not always just customers, and maybe you're attracting a new team, maybe a new branding, or whatever your situation might be. So what we're going to dive into, and we had some friends that just joined us. Hey, Donnie's here today. So guys, if you, hey, Julie Warner says she loves it. So that is cool. Alexis is awesome. So guys, if you're just joining us, we're here at the Purdue MEP. I've got my dear friend, my bestie, Holly Joban, and just marketing expert. We're going to be diving into some fun stuff here. Drop a note in the chat box. Let us know who you are, where you're coming from, your LinkedIn. Great opportunity to connect with each other. We're talking about DIY. Okay. I want to try to do it myself, but boy, there's a lot of moving parts. I need to be a LinkedIn expert, video expert, AI expert, SEO, Google algorithms are changing. Like it's hard to be jack of all trades, master of none. Is that how it goes, Holly?
Yeah.
Let's go through some of the essential key points here.
Absolutely. So the first one being capacity. So of course, if you're doing all of your marketing yourself, that inherently takes the most time and capacity from your team. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you have enough people to accomplish all of the tasks needed, then certainly that's okay that your marketing team is spending their time and energy doing marketing. Where I tend to find capacity with companies who are doing it themselves is their marketing person ends up also being a salesperson and ends up maybe dabbling a little bit in HR, and all of a sudden they're also designing the badges that someone is wearing while they tour from the high school, like all of these different areas where marketers are pulled into. So with capacity, I would say if you are really engaging in DIY marketing efforts for 2024, the really important thing as a marketer is to advocate for yourself in your time for the activities that have the most impact. So really protecting your time and saying, hey, we're going to need somebody else to tackle these things that are not necessarily marketing related, because it's really important that if we want to see these results, I dig in my heels here. So that's just a note on capacity. Growth needs. So depending on the team size, capacity can be a limiter. And to your growth, if you have a lot of things that need done and maybe you are a solo marketer, you might not be able to produce resources at the rate that is needed to see some results. Essential skill sets, again, if not all key skills and best practices are understood, that can hinder growth. But what's really important here that I want to hit on is that what your internal marketing team has that a third party never could is the in-depth knowledge of your product, your business. There are certainly ways where in a good partnership, that knowledge can be fostered and can grow among both teams. So it feels like your partner is an extension of your team. But inherently starting out, your team is the best asset that you have to talk about your brand, to talk about your guidelines and your standards, and to adhere to that. So I don't want this to read as a poo-poo, you might not have an SEO expert on your team, but what you most certainly have is a product and services expert. And that is above all else. Again, essential tools, we talked about that a little bit. So making sure that as the internal marketer, you're able to invest, you have the appropriate budget to invest in the tools that are needed, are aware of the tools that are needed and that kind of thing. And then sometimes from a budget perspective, keeping it in-house can be the most cost effective. But again, it depends. It's important to think about sometimes the true cost. And if you are paying, one person a salary to do marketing, but they can only really be an expert in one area, sometimes it makes sense to either reallocate that person's salary to an external team or add a little bit of budget to it so that you're able to get the help of experts in multiple areas. So that's kind of some things to keep in mind when it comes to DIYing. Kurt, anything there? Any questions from anybody that comes up? So we're speaking super broadly, right?
Yep.
Because there's so many different things that go into it. So if you have any questions or want me to unpack any of these further, please just pop it in the chat and we can make this super collaborative.
Yeah, we welcome. As a matter of fact, you know what? You know how sensitive I am. It hurts my feelings if there aren't questions. I'm just kidding, Diane. I'm just kidding. So, but if you guys have questions, we would love to get those addressed. And I think a couple of great things to think about from a DIY standpoint, if you're that solo marketer or a small company or whatever it might be, it is difficult keeping up with all these changes. I was just at the industrial marketing conference 2 weeks ago, and I walked out of there just like really stunned of like how much I don't know, so it's a lot to cover. So maybe like exploit your strengths, your superpowers, great cliche these days, and then align with folks, come to these webinars at Purdue or other places that you can get this information. Outsource. If you have like a little task, outsource those. Let's keep the party rolling. That we just covered the DIY. I want to dive into the DWY. I love this portion that you're going to cover, Holly. Do it with you. What on earth does do it with you mean?
Yeah, so actually, when I was putting together this presentation and outlining it initially in the abstract, I had called this agency coaching, but I think this could actually be a category that's even wider than that in just coaching and training in general, because there may be training opportunities that don't necessarily mean partnering with a marketing agency that can still help your marketing goals. So, like Kurt said, maybe that's attending a conference, maybe that's partnering with your local MEP and making sure that they're getting resources in your hands, whatever that looks like. The path isn't necessarily always an agency, though that would probably be one of the more common ones that people might consider. So, of course, with coaching, it requires less of your internal team's time, kind of. So, if your team is being coached on how to do something, of course, they're still going to have to take the time to learn and then also to do the thing. Where it does help save time is you're not necessarily hunting and pecking to find all of the knowledge that might be needed to learn about something. So when Google has a new algorithm update, you don't have to scour 50 bajillion resources. You're on Reddit with the SEOs trying to figure out exactly what's happening. If you have a dedicated coach or a trainer who can help you, they can synthesize all of that for you and teach you how to do it. So that's really where a lot of the time saving comes in with coaching. The growth need. So where coaching and training can help with your growth is by holding your team accountable and making sure that they're focused on the most effective tactics. So what we talked about earlier, sometimes when it's DIY, if you're a solo marketer, it's very difficult to advocate for your own time spent doing things that have high impact. So if you have a coach there who's developing a report card, helping you stay accountable, you know that you're really focusing that time on what's needed for that growth. In terms of essential skill sets, if you're working with a coach or a trainer, you can cover those skills gaps that your team might not have inherently. So, kind of that teach a man to fish philosophy. Essential tools. So, the in house team will need to advocate for the budget and resources needed again, but rather than potentially being bamboozled or falling into some tools that are a little bit spammy and not quite worth the price tag, working with a coach or a trainer, they'll be able to tell you what tools they work with that are actually worth it, as well as free tools. And then budget. This can offer a really nice medium ground between, full agency delivery and just doing it by yourself, because you're helping arm your internal team with the strengths of that partner. And that just, helps make everything a little bit more effective.
Well, I love it. So again, guys, so we covered do it with you. That was DWY. Previously was do it your DIY, do it yourself. Let's dive into if you are considering hiring an agency. Maybe you're getting into e-commerce, maybe you're looking for SEO, maybe you're getting into video, whatever that area might be. Holly, let's dive in. What are some considerations, folks? What are some really important points that folks should be in, when they're going to align with them with a firm? And it's a partnership. There's a lot of trust that needs to take place. Let's dive into what are some considerations here.
Yeah, so from a capacity perspective, it does still require time from your team, but you know that it's organized and focused, helping the experts get the knowledge that they need to talk appropriately for your company. So generally, just using us, for example, because I know us best, the way that we work with our clients is our points of contact help get notes from engineers, help get the resources that our content writers need to really become subject matter experts, as well as review some of the materials. Since when we first start out with a client, we might not be an expert in powdered metal or spectroscopy or whatever really in-depth process. So it still does require time from your team, but they're not actually spending the time sitting down doing the thing. They're just reviewing and helping. And that time tends to diminish over time as the agency becomes more of an expert in what you do, speaks your language a little bit more. You have to put in less time helping them learn your subject matter because they're becoming strengths all on their own. We were speaking with Weber Knapp, who Kurt talked about earlier the last time we were on site, and our contacts there, Leela, mentioned how funny it is that sometimes the content writers surprise her with things about the subject matter that she just hadn't thought of before, just through research and things. Growth needs. So generally working with an agency is the fastest path to growth goals, because an agency will have multiple specialists in multiple different categories that can help move all of the needles necessary without having their time fragmented over a couple different places. So of course, if you're a one person or a two person internal team, there's a limiter there on how fast you can grow based on how fast you can produce. With an agency, you're investing in their time to do all of that as fast as possible. Your essential skill sets are covered, your tools are covered completely, and you don't have to do an additional investing there. And as well as budget. Working with an agency can be the most costly, but again, that kind of depends on how much capacity you need to meet your growth goals, as well as depends on how you want to look at that. So another thing I like to think about when it comes to cost is the idea of tech debt, but I like to apply that to marketing as well. When marketers go in and just hit the ground running, do a lot, try and produce stuff, but they don't necessarily have an expert eye on it, and they mess things up, then maybe when they do bring in a partner or when they audit efforts down the line, you now have to spend that extra time walking back what you've done because it doesn't meet best practices. So it's also important to know that no matter which one of these paths you're taking, you're confident that you're setting a super strong foundation so that you're not starting already behind the ball. So that's something that is important to consider from a budget perspective as well.
Well, excellent. Okay, lots of so again, DIY, do it yourself, do it with you. We just covered do it for you. So again, guys, think about, partnering with an agency. They're like they become part of the family, right? Hey, speaking of family, did I see Leah? Leah, are you there? Did I see Paul? Paul looked like he was in the car. Now I ordered a pizza for everybody. Could you see if Paul could pick that up for us? I'm just kidding,
Paul
Leah.
should not have his video on in the car.
I'm just teasing. So, hey, Paul, if you're out there, grab a pizza for us, would you? Because everybody's getting a little hungry. I'm just teasing. So, all right, happy Thursday to you, Leah. All right, let's dive in. Let's keep the party rolling. Hybrid, Holly. We're doing a do it yourself, do it with you. We just covered do it for you. We're really going to partner align with that firm. What does a hybrid do it with you look like?
Yeah. So a hybrid do it with you is what your team is really good at, what they're excelling at. Maybe your in-house team, it makes the most sense for them to hang on to social media because they're able to get images right from the floor. They're able to post those quickly. It just doesn't make sense to outsource that to an agency in your specific case. But you know that your team is not the strongest in content writing or in graphic design. So you want somebody to help you just execute those things all of the time. But you also want to learn how to make your team stronger in, for example, maybe website design. You want to be able to edit your website yourself. So you want to work with a coach to strengthen those areas in certain places. So this one is incredibly variable, and having a hybrid option is the most agile of all of the above because you're able to keep things in-house that make the most sense for your team, outsource things that just don't make sense to even grow your team skill sets, and then grow your team where it makes sense. So the reason why I wanted to include this here and wanted to touch on it is, like I mentioned earlier, don't let anybody tell you that one way is the way to do it and the only way to be successful. Since we went through all of those different considerations, if you're looking at these and you're like, none of these quite feel right to me, or I can't really see our company doing it all 100% of the way, there's definitely a world where you can piece together what feels best for you and really make a custom marketing program that is inherent to who you are and feels true to your values and executing what's reasonable. So the number one consideration, though, is trust. So I said to Kurt, one of the things I really wanted to hold time for in our session here today was to talk about the things that I have seen. That was so dramatic, the things that I have seen, but the things that we've encountered in working with our manufacturing partners from other agencies and things like that, that just are a little shady. So if you're considering coaching or agencies or things like that, there's just a couple of things to be aware of. So the first one is you should always know where your money is going. It should be very clear what you're investing in, what they are doing, and what the output is. This should be reported to you in frequent reports at times that are agreed on, whether that's quarterly, monthly, bi-weekly, whatever that looks like. And the people running your marketing should be able to tell you, here's what happened, the good, the bad, the ugly. Here's what we're going to do about it. Here's how we're going to make strategic shifts. There should never be any confusion into like, yeah, our agency does SEO, but I don't really know what they do. Whenever I hear that, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, no. So just make sure that when you're partnering with somebody, it should feel like they have the trust of an internal team member. Just because they're not sitting in the cubicle next to you, it should still feel like you trust them with your business's money and results. Kurt, do you have any horror stories or things that you want to share as it pertains to trust?
You know what? And it goes, like, hey, though my mom thinks I'm for everybody, I'm not, and I'm sure like, maybe I've worked with folks who are like, hey, Kurt just didn't take me down the right path. My intentions are always sincere. So I don't know as if anybody, I had a client a couple years ago, came through an MEP, and they were spending $50,000 a year on pay-per-click ads. And when we did an audit of their keywords, there was not one keyword that was relevant to their company. $50,000 a year. And so like for our MEP friends, you're always striving for impact. Like that was impact. We helped them get that out of that contract. So Holly, let's keep the party rolling. But guys, if you're taking notes at home, take away. Okay. What Holly just said is man, if you have one golden nugget, that was it right there. If it doesn't make sense, SENSE to you, I encourage you, like it probably doesn't make sense, CENTS, right? I love that line right there. If it doesn't make sense to you, it probably doesn't make sense. Try to understand and like, whoever you're working with, let them explain it to you. Like, hey, explain it to me. I kid around. I'm like, don't explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Explain it to me like I'm a 55-year-old, because that's what I am, right? So, all right, we've got a lot more to cover, Holly. So we've got to keep cooking. What are some considerations, recommendations for starting this party? And I think Donnie had a great question. Where would you get the most bang for your buck? So Donnie, thank you for the question. I thought maybe we would tie that in with this slide here.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are a DIYer and you're like, Holly, this is great. Maybe I'd like to ladder up to agency partnerships down the line, but either I know we don't have the budget, I know who I'm working with as opposed to that. We've been burned in the past. We're still a little sensitive. The first thing that I would say is start by seeking resources. So there's a ton of virtual courses out there. HubSpot has really, 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 really awesome, a free academy that teaches you all of the ins and outs of what you need. SEMrush has some tutorials. Google themselves has different tutorials and things. So the first thing to do, I would say, if you're attending this and you're like, God, I'm fired up about my marketing, but I don't know that I'm necessarily in a position to make change. The first place to start is just with education and with learning what is next. This is going to sound like a shameless plug for my book, and I guess it kind of is, but I would recommend, like, I swear to God, I put my heart and soul into that in terms of exactly how to do inbound marketing step by step, just like how we train our team. That might be a really good place to start in terms of just reading through that, seeing maybe areas where you can grow. And then my next recommendation would be, if you're like, okay, I've been doing it myself, I've explored all these resources, I don't really think there's much else I can do, exploring some of the do it with you options. And MEPs have great options. Kurt, would you mind speaking a little bit to some of the SEO boost things that you do with manufacturers?
Yeah, you know what? As a matter of fact, I've got a couple examples that we'll dive in real quick. And
Cool.
so how about are you cool if I move forward?
Mm-hmm.
Let's move forward here. Okay, so what are we talking about here? You've got a little quiz.
Yeah. So also, Donnie, who's with us today, developed a quiz. It's just protocolid.com/coaching. It lives on our coaching page, but it is a quiz for anybody to assess where their starting mark is for marketing. So it will help you determine your areas of focus. So if you are a DIY, there's some questions in there that'll help you determine if you're producing enough, if you're producing the right kind of things, and where to go next. And that's just a good place to start channeling what you want to do. And if you do want to work with a provider, that also will give you kind of a punch list of like, hey, we're a little weak in this area. Are you able to help coach my team on this? Or are you able to work with me to support our execution of this? So just like a good barometer for where you're at currently with your marketing.
Yeah, I love that. So let's all right, let's talk about a little collaboration. I know Lisa chimed in, but I don't see her. I just see her ceiling. But so Lisa is here from City Steels. So, as you mentioned, like that collaboration, that do it with you. And so, guys, here's another tagline that we love to preach and share with our manufacturers is, instead of outspending your competition on advertising, pay-per-click ads, marketing firms, all these other things, what we really love to encourage, what we preach and what we try to practice is, how do you out teach the competition? How do you out teach the competition? And that's exactly what you guys do at your firm, Holly, at Protocol 80. And that's what we're doing here at Purdue, or any of the MEPs. They're all that, many of the MEPs are parked at a university, a college, they're academic based. And so what we're trying to do is, how do we help educate those manufacturers out there? And then in the same regard, take that as a marketing strategy. Instead of being like salesy, being an educator. Not everybody knows how to bend metal or make a circuit board or 3D print or plastic injection molding or whatever service that you provide. So boy, like, make that person feel like they're the smartest person in the room by providing that information. We had through the Purdue MEP, we had a great program with a company called Steel City Steels. Lisa's here somewhere. And so what all of a sudden they started, we had a really great program for them, kind of taught them how to fish, as you like to say, Holly. And so now, like, they're cranking out all sorts of blog posts and great juicy topics that's going to resonate with either that engineer or somebody in procurement or that purchaser. Here's another example. Speaking of lunch, I don't know. Hey, Leah, I don't know if Paul's going to pick up that pizza or not, but here's a company in great state of Indiana. They do chorizo. And so if you guys are a little hungry, you might want to turn away because we got chorizo here. But this is a company, one of the oldest companies that are Mexican owned, founded in 1925. And what we love to do is we encourage our manufacturers, put out that learning center. You know, like maybe you call it your blogs, maybe resources. We'd like to use that line learning center, because what we're doing is we're trying to teach and educate those ideal clients. And so what we did, this is a gentleman, this is through the Purdue MEP. This is the proud owner, Edward, became a good buddy of ours. And what we did is we just interviewed Edward. You know, the reality of Edward sitting down, like knocking down a blog post, like he's a president of a busy company. There's no way on God's green earth that he's going to sit down and write out a blog post. But what we were able to do is like, hey, we could interview him. He's the subject matter expert. We grab that interview and we create wonderful content through video, through blogging, and now social posts. So Holly, that's like a great example of like how that hybrid do it with you can work. Let's keep it rolling here. What
Yeah.
on earth is going on with this slide?
This made me laugh, so I had to include this GIF here. But so I'm going to show some examples of what strategy-driven digital marketing does. And my huge caveat here is that these are examples from clients that we work with, either for hybrid coaching, for true coaching, for delivery. But the number one thing to remember is that dedicating time to your marketing is what yielded these results. It's not P80. It's not having an agency. It's having the time, the resources, the tools, and the capacity to dedicate to doing these types of things is when we see results like this. So the point of me showing this to you is so, get fired up about your marketing in 2024, whether that's seeking more resources for yourself, partnering with somebody, having somebody do it for you. These are the type of results I want to see every manufacturer have, and how they get there is dedication to excelling in digital marketing. And like Kurt said, that's through content and through, I'm going to stop now because I could talk about, the ins and outs of inbound marketing literally all day long. But so these are examples from clients of ours who, are writing blogs, are doing that educational content, and they're seeing, a 300% lead growth. The slide earlier showed over 1,000% growth in website traffic. So again, this is not because of us per se, but because of dedication and our clients choosing to invest in us, which yielded these results. But that's the path that worked best for them. So it's important to find the path that works best for you so that your charts look like this. If your charts don't look like this, it's time to audit and assess and see how to tweak your marketing in the way that you're practicing it, just to make sure that it looks good. So Kurt, I think we can sneak on to, there should be a third
Yeah,
one.
and I want to recap a couple of things that you covered right there.
Yeah.
Earlier you were talking about that word trust, right?
Mhm.
It's trust with the direction. It's trust with a commitment, right? It's trust. Google is now trusting you. So you
Mhm.
have to be putting out good quality content to see a chart that looks like this. And my favorite word that you mentioned was consistency, right? Is just
Mhm.
getting out there and just being consistent. It's like going to the gym or whatever it might be. So all
Yep.
right, let's keep the party rolling. What are we looking at here on this slide?
I see we just got a question just super quickly, Kurt, from
Yeah.
Diane, and I believe it was, I saw it flash really quickly, that said, what were the 4 categories? So capacity, growth need, essential skill sets, essential tools, budget, and then the big one, which is trust. And I know these are kind of wordy, but I wanted, Kurt will make sure that you guys get these slides if you want them at the end, and then you'll have all of this here to compare, to put in a little chart for yourself. So those are the 5 main ones, and then of course the 6th one being trust. So sorry, Kurt, didn't mean to derail us. Just wanted to make sure I got
That was
Diane an
great
answer
question,
there.
Diane. Thank you. That was perfect. And Julie, and what we'll do is Julie will be sending out an email from Purdue. She'll be sending out an email. We'll have the replay for you guys. Probably
Cool.
if it doesn't go out tomorrow, probably Monday. I don't want to put any pressure on Julie, and then we've got to get our team to get the recording and everything. So, all right, let's cover this slide here.
And then these are just examples of impact of dedicated digital marketing activities on your actual pipeline. So having millions of dollars come in that you can attribute to digital sources. And the reason why I share this again is because if you're contributing your own capacity or investing in the capacity of a partner, you should be seeing tangible results from that. It shouldn't just be I think it's working. You should be able to see charts like this. You should be able to see the results like this. And that's why I show it to you, to show you it's possible. And it doesn't matter where you're investing, but if you are investing, you want to make sure that you're seeing that ROI come in. And the bottom one is just from paid ads. Okay.
I'm Holly, what's that number say? 13 million?
Yeah. Yep. 13 million. Yeah,
let's
from organic. So Kurt, what you were talking about earlier with the Learning Center, again, I know we're not here today to talk about inbound marketing and best practices, and there's tons of resources and stuff, but I just really want to hit on that because those are from organic search, which means that somebody put in a term that was related to what our client does. So maybe it is like best stainless steel for marine applications or something like that. And our client came up first. Someone landed there and became a client because of an organic resource that comes from trusted content, from a learning center, like Kurt talked about, from SEO, all of that kind of stuff. So that's really important. And that's what I mean too, making sure that your internal team is empowered to protect that time to produce resources like that, because that is really where the results are, especially for manufacturers.
Well, I love it. So, all right, let's dive into this company here.
This is the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I just wanted to show an example of a partnership and what we believe kind of a healthy partnership can look like, the types of activities we do. Again, because if you've never worked with an agency, it's kind of like, well, what does an agency actually do? What does a partnership actually look like? So their website is linked in here for if anyone wants to explore and just kind of see what a website of someone who's been doing inbound marketing looks like. So they've got the resources, that kind of thing. And then the next slide, Kurt, if you don't mind, is just like a peek inside of what a typical month might look like for them to see success. So that's new blog resource production, old blog reoptimization, social media sharing, email marketing, automation, content like premium content work, ad design, trade show support, videography, comprehensive reporting, paid ads. And I threw this in here because I think this is a really important example of how if you're partnering with somebody, they should feel like an extension of your internal team. WeberNap came to us a couple years ago, and our graphic designer, Mava, has a great relationship with them. And they said, hey, we're sponsoring a hockey team and we need to design jerseys with a logo. Like, I know it's not really what you guys do, but can you do that for us? And we were like, that sounds like so much fun. Absolutely. So you should have the confidence and the trust in the relationship with whoever you're working with your partner, to feel like you can ask those types of questions and do those kinds of things, because at the end of the day, they are a member of your team, and that's how it should always feel.
Another great takeaway. You should be able to ask, can you make the hockey jersey, right? That's a great take.
Yeah.
So you know what, Holly, and there's a lot here on the list. And what I love to do is, like, especially for our solo marketers, we're like, it's like, oh my goodness, I've got to do I've got to do all the things, right? I got to do the email, I got to do the LinkedIn, I've got to do this, I got to, Holly, I'd love to share with folks out there again, like, how do we reduce the overwhelm, and like, pick those one or two things that that you're great at, that that can move the needle, that that your ideal clients are hanging out at. Holly, any suggestions that you have for folks of, like, again, I think Donnie had a great question. You had a slide earlier about like getting started, a lot going on here. WeberNap started slow and steady, and now they've just grown and blossomed. What would be a great takeaway for folks? Like, where would you really want to get started?
Yep. So if I was a manufacturing company looking to get started with marketing and I was at absolute square one, what I would do first is to go to my sales team and I would ask them, what are the questions that you get repeatedly in the sales process that you are answering for people? This is important for a couple of reasons. The first one being, if prospects that are in the sales process are asking it, that's what people on Google are typing in and searching. You can forget about keywords. Don't tell my SEO team members that I just said that, but I mean it, because the number one thing Google cares about is meeting intention and need. So if you are answering questions and producing content, start with the sales team, see what those questions are, and produce educational content around that. From there, you have this treasure trove of resources, and now that's your basis for the rest of your campaigns. You're sharing links to those resources via email. You're sharing them via social media. You're doing a webinar about that topic, maybe. That, like, the core of the content, not only is it beginning to work in search and get you that, millions and millions of dollars of results someday, but it's also going to give you those resources to share with the sales team so that they can share with prospects and potentially improve close rate. As well as, again, that way you don't have to just sit there in front of a screen and be like, what am I going to post on LinkedIn today? You have a helpful resource that you can pull excerpts from, pull a chart from. So really starting there, and that is without any tools. You'd have to have a website, but without any additional tools, that is a strong place to start. And I promise it'll help. Of course, you can get into all of the fine-tunedness of how to optimize that and see success faster with SEO and things like that. But I promise that just doing that alone will get you further along.
Yeah, great advice. Love it. And I hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly. Merrily. So, hey, we got a comment here. So again, guys, thank you for joining us today. We deeply appreciate it. We're going to start winding down. Big theme is trust, right? Content and trust. And when you think about, I don't care what we're selling. Like I'm see my dear friend Diane at TAC, or our friends at Purdue, myself, Holly, you guys, you're manufacturing plastic parts, you're manufacturing circuit boards, whatever you're manufacturing, we're really selling one thing only. It's trust, right? It's, do I trust you? Can you help me today? And what you want to do, I have another catch. Holly, have you seen the theme with like the taglines? What we'd love to preach and teach to the manufacturers, on top of like, hey, let's out teach the competition. How do you help that ideal buyer make a buying decision on a Friday night at midnight without having to wait for you to open up your doors on Monday morning? 70% now of the buying decision, it might be higher, is done online before somebody picks up the phone, drops you an email. They are looking at you, they are checking you out, they are stalking you. If I'm an engineer, I'm a buyer, and like my job's on the line and I'm looking for a new supplier, boy, what am I looking for? Trust, right? And the more that you can resonate that trust with this content strategy, is the more that you're you're just gonna hit those home runs. Holly, let's take it home. Guys, again, we're gonna stick around for a few minutes. Please drop any questions that you have. We'd love to go ahead, Holly.
I did see a question in the chat from Alan. I missed it earlier, so I'm sorry, Alan. The question is having multiple funnels open.
Oh, my buddy Alan. Sorry, Alan, that's my fault. Yep. Okay, so Alan's dropped a question. Is having multiple funnels open, or a more focused approach better? Holly, what do you think of that?
I'm going to tackle this based on what I think this question means, but Alan, if I am not interpreting it in the right lens, please just add some clarification in the chat and I will try again. What I think this means is is it better to just have an agency do everything, have yourself do everything, or is it helpful to have multiple avenues open? Again, I think that's what Alan's asking. So if so, I would say it largely depends on what the impact is. So there is not one right way. It seems like it would be easier to just have, let's say an agency do absolutely everything for you. But there might be situations, again, if you're in an incredibly visual market, if you know that that's really important to you and it's important that you have that high touch interaction on social media with really valuable visual content at an instant, it might make sense to have an internal marketing person capture all of that content and share it. So it really kind of depends on what works for you and what impact you're seeing. If you are going in one direction right now and putting all of your eggs in one basket, and it doesn't feel like you're seeing those charts that are going up and to the right, like I shared, it might be time to look into other channels where you could get support, depending on the budget, capacity, growth needs. I hope that answered,
Yeah.
Alan. If not, again, please let me know and I'll take another crack at it.
Yeah, and Alan, if you want, please feel free to take yourself off mute if you wanted to chime in, or if you want to continue that question, and we would love that. As we're doing that, I want to give a little shout out. So we do webinars every month at Purdue here, and boy, do we love. Oh, Alan, perfect answer. Let's give a little round of applause for Holly for the perfect answer. How about that?
Thanks, Alan. I'm happy to help.
So let's do this. If you have any questions whatsoever, again, we've covered a lot, right? DIY, do it yourself, for you solo marketers out there. Boy, I'm a solopreneur, so I'm my own solo marketer. It's daunting. Holly, you have a wonderful team of 17. And that's a great thing, is like, that's why I lean so heavily on a firm like you, because I can't do it all. It's just unrealistic, not possible. You guys have such a wide, deep bench of other subject matter experts. And that's, if you're a solo marketer out there, boy, I encourage you, you don't need to be overwhelmed. You don't need to feel like you're tackling this alone. Again, connect with your local MEP, come to these workshops, come to webinars, get as much free information, but sometimes you need to take it to that next level. Hey, we've got another question. Great. What about outreach as an MEP to manufacturers? Is there anything in particular you feel works best for outreach? Boy, that's a great question. I haven't connect with your MEP. So I have Marilee, I think, and I believe you're with Florida Makes. So, hey, we need to have a chat. So I just started chatting with Fernando at Florida Makes recently. But, for the MEPs, Holly, I'm going to chime in, and I'm dying to hear your answer. So I do a ton of work with different MEPs, different states. And what's my preach? I'll teach the competition. We love doing these webinars like this. I do a live stream show. Diane, my live stream show. So I do a live stream show. Holly, you've been a wonderful guest, and we do that twice a week. And so again, like just putting that information out. What one thing that we do on our live stream show, and this is for everybody here today, okay? Live stream. Why? I'm a manufacturer. Why would I do a live stream? Man, we're starting to have some of our manufacturers. We're starting to coach them on doing live streams. We actually have the Alaska MEP is now putting out a live stream on every other twice a month, every other week. I think they're going live today, maybe. And they're doing two things. They bring on a subject matter expert one day of the month. They bring on one of their clients the second day of the month. And I'll tell you, on a live stream, it is a great way to get testimonials. What does a testimonial do? Social proof, trust, right? All the above. So Holly, how would you, any thoughts that you have that you want to chime in?
Yeah, this may or may not be relevant, but the phrase outreach hit me, and so I think I took that very literally. But one of the things too is looking into what we would call account-based marketing. So that is outreach to specific accounts or specific types of people, and that usually has a hybrid approach between traditional marketing methods, digital marketing methods. But again, at the core of that is resources. So maybe you're identifying those accounts, those people that you really want to speak to, and you're developing templates that speak directly to their pain points, why they would want to work with an MEP, and making sure that you're hitting them with resources. So again, HubSpot has a lot of really great resources. The Protocol ID website has resources on ABM or account-based marketing. Some of those best practices might be really helpful in this case. And like Kurt said, that resource, that offering, it doesn't just have to be a blog, it could be a webinar, it could be a live stream, but actually reaching them, some of the tactics under that model might be helpful.
Yeah, I love that. And back to like, I had a couple examples that I showed earlier from clients that we had through the Purdue MEP. And so what we did here, and I think this ties in exactly with the answer, Marilee, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is, your internal subject matter experts, right? Like here at Purdue, I think Purdue has 45, 50 employees. And so we as a matter of fact, we just interviewed our buddy Art Thomas, who's a great business advisor, research manager at the Purdue MEP. We just interviewed him on our live show 3 weeks ago. And I found out, I've been buddies with him for years. I found out all sorts of amazing things about him that I didn't know. So like it made that emotional connection, even, my friendship, even my respect and admiration for Art just went deeper. Then he dug into like his expertise. Mary Ellie, thank you for
Mary
correcting.
Ellie.
Mary Ellie, I love that. It's a beautiful
name.
And so if you're a manufacturer, get your internal experts, your engineers, like my friend Edward here, okay? Back here at Steel City Steels. This is Mike. Mike's been working at Steel City Steels, I think, for 26, 27 years or something like that. Doesn't look like he's been working there that long. Young looking guy, but he's an expert in steel. And so what Lisa started doing is she interviews Mike on all sorts of different topics. And now what the intention is, how can we come up on Google? When that engineer, that person in purchasing, when they have a question, now they can land on their website and the answer is right there. So again, what's it come down to? Trust, right? So let's start winding down. I want to give a shout out. We have another amazing, incredible program coming up, guys. If you want to grab your little phone there, snap that QR code. My dear friend, my partner in crime, Wesleyan, and I, she is a powerhouse speaker, just like Holly. We're going to be doing a fun jam session here at Purdue on March 21st. I strongly encourage you to join us for that. And lastly, I encourage you, invite you guys to connect with the Purdue MEP or like our friends from Florida MEP, whatever state that you're in, connect with your MEP. And hey, while we're hanging out here, guys, first off, I want to thank you. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time. I know how busy your schedules are. We're competing for your time. We never take that for granted. So thank you. But hey, let's give a big round of applause for Holly for absolutely crushing it today. Holly, man, you brought the heat. I knew this was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be that good. I'm going to stick around for a couple more minutes. I just want to be respectful if people need a pop off. So I want to give a big thank you. We wish you massive success. Holly, do you want to give one more shout out? You've got your book, Protocol 80. Anything else that you want to give as we close things out?
I just want to say good luck to everybody in your 2024 marketing. If you ever have any questions and just like want a quick response, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to help anytime. Like I said, it's addicting watching manufacturing companies grow. So if I can help be a small part of that for you, just don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you guys, everyone at the MEP and Kurt, for including me. This was a lot of fun.
Man, you just gave me chills, guys. You know, and before you guys wrap up, just like each and every single one of you, you know, like, hey, you know, we go through our daily routine of life, you know, our lives or whatever. But each and every single one of you that are in manufacturing, man, I just get chills thinking about it. Like, just, you know, we're the greatest country on the planet, and you guys are making awesome parts here. You're creating jobs. These are family. Like, it's not just a job. It's like you're providing for a family. You know, like Little League, dance lessons, high school graduation. It's so admirable what everybody does here. So I salute you guys. I applaud you. And let's give a round of applause for Julie at the Purdue MEP for throwing the party. What a host that she is, right? So Julie, thank you for hosting us. Again, guys, we'll stick around for I dropped my LinkedIn. Holly's LinkedIn is early in the chat. I have Holly's book. Buy her, man. I encourage you, buy her book. We'd love for you to buy her book. Connect with us on LinkedIn if you have any questions, but we'll stick around for a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
Julie, anything that you want to close us out with?
No, just thanks to you and Holly. This was great. I loved it. Tons of new information for us and just all of the resources and different ways we can partner. And like you said, the agility of it, of how you can just switch back and forth to what you need and when you need it kind of thing. So I appreciate it so much. This was wonderful. Thank you guys.
Man, we always have a
Thank you.
blast. So, all right, any last? I don't want to hold up everybody, but any last questions before we close out? Diane, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your comments. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for everybody that joined us. Thank you for our friends at the Florida MEP. How cool is that, Julie? Right, we get our friends from even though they, you know, they're showing off their hot weather. You know, we're up here.
I know, rubbing in our noses a little bit, but no, that's all right.
We started out by bragging about a little bit of sun.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden Florida had to show up and show us up. So, but well, guys, thank you. We wish you an amazing rest of your day. Have a great week. We'll get the recording out to you, Julie. I'll have that to you if not tomorrow, by Monday. And God bless everybody. Thank you, Holly. That was awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
See ya.